This Magazzino is relatively new. They've been open for, I think, 3 years now. Um, Many of the shows that I have seen them advertising did not grip me in a way that made me want to run up there and see the show. But um, I think it was 2 weeks ago in the New York Times, there was an article about one of the shows that they have up there, and that one grabbed my attention. So uh, this image that you're seeing on the screen is sort of the back of the museum, but I'm not exactly sure what the back of the museum is because the part that faces toward the street is not visible from the street. So this is really the entrance to the museum, and it's on the opposite side off of Route 9A. Um, so where we are is Cold Springs, New York. It's 2,700 Route 9A, I guess is what they're calling it. Anyway, you can get there. um, and they have these beautiful grounds that they have planted. All these pine trees and a lot of wildflowers, and it's very well tended. There's a lot of plantings going on, but it's also pretty wild. And they have burros. They have these donkeys. they're actually the kind of burros that they use in southern Italy, and they've got about, I don't know, they must have about 10 or 12 of them out there, and they're breeding and stuff like that. The people that see, this is a place where I would have done my research. The people who own or created Magazzino are a couple, and they've got a farm out there someplace in Cold Springs, and they created this campus. They're actually in the process of expanding it. They're planning to create an educational facility there, plus the exhibition space. So the main focus of Magazzino is Italian art, basically contemporary Italian art. And what I saw in the newspaper, which intrigued me, was this guy, Navolo. And he does these incredible sand cast paintings. And well, he's gone now. I believe he died in 1988. But these pieces are basically he casts. What he does is he'll lay out his sculpture in the sand. He will carve into the sand, and then pour plaster or cement over the top of what he has done, and then pull that cast out of the sand, and on the reverse is this sand casting, and then he'll paint into it with he used to use tempera. So this is what the inside of one of the galleries looks like, and this is the entrance into this particular exhibition. This is a very large-scale piece, which is now, I believe, still at the Harvard campus. Navola taught actually at Harvard. He taught at several different colleges, and I'll go further into that later. But you can see the scale of this piece, and it's really got a very interesting quality to it. Okay, Constantino Nivola, 1911 to 1988, earned renown in the 50s for his singular approach to sculptural production. He was born in Italy, basically, and immigrated. His wife was Jewish, so they had to get the hell out of there when the Nazis came in. They moved first to Paris, then they immigrated to the United States, and I believe it was 1939 they moved to New York. And they first landed in Greenwich Village, and then in 1948 they bought a house out on Long Island, which actually facilitated his ability to do these large-scale sand cast pieces, which he used to use his garden to do. He had this nice sandy garden, and he would do his relief pieces out there. So as you know, in some of my other talks, we've been out in Long Island a number of different times. You know, he was friends with Saul Steinberg, knew de Kooning, knew Lee Krasner and Pollock. So in the early, you know, he and his children used to go to the beach. That he would do these castings on the beach, and that's when he got the idea of pouring the plaster to actually do direct molds from these things. So there would be a layer of sand that would be locked into the plaster, and then he would paint and texture and sculpt into the things further. Okay, and I showed you that piece before that was at Harvard. Originally, it was commissioned by Olivetta, and he worked for Olivetta for a period of time when he was in Italy as a designer. When he came to the United States, he got various jobs at architectural review magazines and things like that. He was like the head art director of several architectural magazines. Because his work is this relief work, he was very much involved with architectural work. He was close friends with Le Corbusier, who was a great modernist architect, and actually Le Corbusier did a mural at Novella's house. Unfortunately, I don't have a copy of that in here. I had downloaded it and I have it someplace, but I forgot to put it on. I got a little thrown this morning by Dia.
Larry, just
yes.
as an aside.
Yes.
You said that his wife's last name was Guggenheim.
Yes.
Is she part of the Guggenheim family?
No.
The museum?
No, not directly related that I know of. Although you know that it could well be. I'm really not sure about that. But they didn't mention it in any of the literature that I was reading, so that leads me to believe that she was not directly related to them, or that would probably have come up. So this picture on the left is the reinstallation of the Olivetta piece at Harvard. And the young woman on the scaffold with him is one of his daughters, who acted as an assistant in this process. And here, I love these shots. These give you a real clear idea of what he's about. So basically, on the left is Olivetta himself working on one of these sand castings. What he would do is wet the sand and then shape it with various tools, masonry tools and things like that. And then on the right is, one of the workers, one of the, I believe this is a mason that he had as an assistant. And so they would come in and do the casting together and then pick the thing up and set it up in panels. And then he would continue the work on painting into it and shaping and sculpting it further. So it's quite a process. And it could be either cement or plaster, according to what he wanted to do and basically where it was going. If it was going to be interior or exterior, plaster won't hold up. So even cement won't last forever, but does pretty well outdoors. And here is one of the castings. Beautiful, images. They're very kind of archaic images. He came up with this kind of abstract form that he would work, these abstract forms that he would work with and press into the sand.
Larry?
Yes.
These must have been very heavy.
Yes, they were very heavy. The plaster pieces were not as heavy as the cement ones, but still, I mean, basically he needed assistance to work with. This particular piece is actually one of the shots that I took up at Magazzino, and it is about 2 by 8 feet. So then I did some detail shots to give you some more of an idea of the texture and the quality. The color is really subtle and beautiful. And, basically he was using the tempera paint and it would just like sink into the surface, with the sandy surface. It's really lovely. They're really just beautiful things, and the patterning and the kind of implicit kind of narrative issues that go on in these. They're kind of like cryptic symbols. Now, he studied in Italy with basically a pretty well-known sculptor, Marini. Actually, there was a show of his work last year in New York City at the Center for Contemporary Italian Art, and he studied with both this designer and with the sculptor, and he began his career in '36 as a graphic designer, as I said, with Olivetti. And then they came to the United States. And one of the things I wanted to do was pull out Arp, who was doing these beautiful three-dimensional relief sculptures, and the other person who these reminded me of was Noguchi, and his use of relief on a lot of his sculptures. And this is actually a contour design for a playground that Noguchi was working on. Anyway, I saw a parallel between some of the things that Nivola was into and these fellows. Again, really lovely color, very subtle. And then some of them are just the straight relief casts in the sand. And this gives you more of a sense of the texture, the feel of the thing. It's this granular quality that's really very interesting. Even without paint, the pieces are really fascinating. You know, you're looking at this thing digitally, but when you see them in person, there's a lot more substance to them, the presence of the piece. But this gives you some idea. And then there are a lot of smaller scale pieces. He would do gallery shows and show these pieces. And then he did straight up sculpture also. I believe this actually was stone. Okay. And the other person who this brought to my mind was Brock. And Brock would embed sand in his oil paintings, and it just like that was where the other piece of, you know, memory was jogged for me. The layering of textures and things like that, and Brock would do these kind of faux wood surfaces and things like that. So I saw a little parallel between the uses of the materials and all of that. Okay. There were a whole group of these small pieces on shelves when you came in to Magazzino. And those were really, they were really beautiful. And I tried to do as many shots as I could. Some of them didn't come out so well, but. Okay, now we're moving on. The other show that is up at Magazzino is Art Povera, and this was a movement that happened back in the 60s, and basically it was kind of a student kind of there was kind of a rebellion against the industrialization that was taking place throughout Italy, and the Marshall Plan was in place, and the artists tried to kind of eliminate the boundaries between the industrial and the artistic. One of the things about the quality of the images was really the craftsmanship is very beautiful. I didn't get a lot of what was going on there because they didn't have a lot of writing on the work, which is a little problematic. They did have an app that you could use, and I tried to use the damn thing, but it wasn't working for me. So I just did my best to work my way through the show. So I'll show you some of the work from the thing. Let's see. So I don't even have the names of the artists because they aren't on the walls. But the app was supposed to guide you through and give you that information. So I'm left scratching my head. I have no idea what's going on here. It's an interesting piece. It's well crafted, but I have no idea where they're going or what this is about. Not a great shot. Okay, and this is actually a really beautiful piece. If it were in focus, it would help. It is embroidered, so it's quite detailed and really a fascinating kind of collage-like piece. Okay, so as I said, this is a shortened version of my talk. All the research that I did on Dia went by the wayside. So this is the location. Yeah, it's Route 9, and it's 2700 Route 9. Basically, you can check out their website, and that will give you a lot of information that I wasn't able to come up with for this. Next week, we're going to go to the Cézanne drawing show. That one I'm going to have plenty of information on. And I will be talking with Dia, and we'll reschedule some kind of a program for that. But Cézanne is one of the artists who I have probably studied most in my lifetime. And as I always like to say, artists have been chewing on Cézanne's bones ever since he died, and there's still marrow to it. So next week will be a fairly substantial lecture.
There's just a question. I thought the 18th was going to be Jasper Johns.
Oh, yes, that's right. Sorry, I'm wrong.
So we have that straight.
Cézanne is the end of the month.
Right. And then so there's a question.
Yes.
About this image.
Yes.
Is that the Italian flag in scrap fabric?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you all for, you just learned about a new museum I never heard of. It's only 3 years old, no wonder.
Yeah.
So thank you for telling us about this.
It's got great grounds. Take a picnic lunch. They have picnic tables out there under the trees, out by the mules, or you don't need to go out by the mules. There's other areas where there are picnic tables under the trees. It's very beautiful.
Okay. Well, we'll see you. Hopefully you'll come to all of our food programs and to see Mary Calvi. We have lots going on. And don't forget the big fundraiser. And I hope you will support the Friends of the Chappaqua Library, because they do so much to support the library and all the programs we have. And Daniel Silver is as a #1 best-selling New York Times writer, and also the best of his generation. So it doesn't really get better than that for this program that they're supporting. All the details will be on our website. So that's about it for now, Larry. Thank you.